This is an unboxing review and unboxing video and component review for the new Thunderbolt Apache Leader, which is not this. This is the venerable old edition from the 90s. Really great game, but quite dated in the components. So let's see the new one. The Air Leader series has grown quite a bit as well, and so this is not only going to be a component upgrade, but there's going to be some rules updates too. So we have two things here. We have two kinds of packing paper. That's great. And then we have the order invoice thing. Then we have a flyer from Victory Point Games. I didn't know there was a connection between Dan Viersen Games and Victory Point Games. I'm going to have to look into this because clearly there's something going on there. And then we have the game. It is thick. Look at that. That's a bit of a difference there. This is a glossy box, very thick walls, same as Phantom Leader. I'm going to keep referring to Phantom Leader because the production seems to be the same type of production throughout. But a glossy box, very sturdy, which is good because there's a ton of stuff in it. Starting with the rulebook. This is substantially thicker than the Phantom Leader rulebook. There are a lot more tactical options. Turns out 28 pages if you include the front and back cover. Glossy, color throughout. There are more tactical options and more campaign considerations in Thunderbolt Apache Leader than the other Leader series games, so that's why the rulebook is a little bit thicker. Then we have the game board. Now I'm going to call this the tactical game board, and we'll come back to the campaign board in a moment. As you can see, it's very dark, but remember that these hexagons here are going to be filled with your terrain tiles when you're playing. Other than that, very evocative, very authentic looking. I like that it's not abstract and cartoony, but it's also not photographic, which I don't really care for. And they've done this appearance as a computer display in a dark cockpit. So I like the looks of this, even though it's pretty dark. Thunderbolt Apache Leader is a very procedural game, the way they've done the abstraction. And so it's very handy to have the, this is basically the mission sequence of play here, the tactical sequence of play. Very handy to have there, and then the other reference stuff that you need over there. So everything you need is going to be right here on a very nicely mounted board, so that's good. Then this is the other one, and by the way, it's got spaces on one side, you probably noticed, for the decks of cards. There's lots of different decks, you know, the targets and the special conditions and the mission events, so there's places for all those cards over here. Now, for campaign issues, you have a different display here. This is where the campaign card and the situation, the aircraft crews right there. And then this over here, this is basically a campaign setup and the other thing you need to know for the campaign. So this is kind of the tactical view, and this is the more the operational view. I wouldn't call it strategic, but this is the big view of your campaign. Next you have the pilot roster. So you're going to photocopy this, and then you're going to keep track of your missions and the battalions and the targets and the other things that you have going on in the game here. So first thing you do is you make a bunch of copies of this. Okay, well this is probably not in everybody's copy. I've given the Leader series a whole lot of really nice ratings on BoardGameGeek, and that's probably what that's about. That's a nice touch. Probably not in every copy. Then these are all came like this. The pieces are nicely die cut, so they're falling apart just as you take it out of the box. These are the terrain tiles. They're hexagons, whereas they were rectangles in original Thunderbolt Apache Leader. We still have the directional arrows so that they'll all line up properly. And it's interesting that we've changed our assumption. Once upon a time we assumed, up through the 90s, that we would be fighting future wars in green countries. Now we seem to be assuming that they're going to be in brown countries. And most of the campaigns that are included in Thunderbolt Apache Leader, the new one, are, they're Libya, they're Iran. What do you expect? Okay. And you'll notice the hills on the edge. These are very important terrain feature. They are not in original Thunderbolt Apache Leader. The terrain cards were indicated as light, medium, or heavy. Here they're all numbered, so that's a difference. I'm sure the campaigns will tell you which numbers to include, and then the frames. Okay. Now we get to the counters. There are 352 counters in this game, and they are all double-sided. So this is a big game. If you're wondering about the price point, this is a big game. Here we have our targets, we have our aircraft, we have our munitions, and our hit markers over here. And the hit markers are less complex than they were in original Thunderbolt Apache Leader. But there's some really great features. The stress markers and some of the hit markers are working better now than they did in Thunderbolt Apache Leader, or the original. The new one has it has the improved morale, not morale, but really the combat stress and shaken status system from Phantom Leader, which is much more streamlined. It may not have started in Phantom Leader, but the newer version. Also, here is a couple of, well, I'll come back to that. Next in the box we have the cards. We have 3 packs of cards like that. These are the pilots, these are the aircraft, these are the targets, these are the special conditions, these are the situations, these are the campaigns. They drive this whole game. And they're very nice, they're very evocative, they're very attractive, they're extremely sturdy. This is that's a thick old card, you can't tell, but this is thicker than a typical card. The only complaint I'd give here is that, I don't know if it's because I'm getting old or because of my astigmatism or what, but this is you can see this is a medium gray on a black background. I'm going to need good light to play this game. That's just a little tough for me to read. But it is very evocative of the cockpit videos that you see online and other places. So maybe there's a good reason for it. And then there's our campaigns here, and the situations, all very good looking. Next to last in the box we have a bright red, pinky, candy looking, transparent red die, which maybe it's supposed to be evocative of a warning indicator light or something like that. I'm not a fan. I've been running this game, the original that is, at conventions using miniatures on little stands with Thunderbolt and an Apache. And here's the dice I've been using for that. We have blue dice for the Air Force pilots flying the Thunderbolts. We've got some nice green and white dice for the, green and white dice for the Army pilots and the Apaches. I'm usually playing the bad guys, so I get a red die for the communists. So I'll just be using those dice. It's silly in this day and age for every game box in your garage to have a separate die. So I don't think we have to worry about the dice. That's just funny. Finally, we have the insert. Mine is smashed. It's very thin cardboard. It did not survive the game's initial shipping. So if box inserts are a big deal to you, then Thunderbolt Apache Leader has a flaw. If you don't care about inserts, and I don't, then this is not, that's not an issue. This is a capacious box, which is good because I need to put more dice in there. So those are the campaigns. Those are the components. That's all that good stuff. The big question everybody's going to ask is, if I have the old game, do I need to buy the new game?